Well, good morning, everyone, and it's good to be with you this morning on a happy Father's Day. And I just noticed I'm starting to get the texts from my children, which are around the United States, wishing me a happy Father's Day. And so I was wondering if they would remember, but they are. So good. Good to see you this morning. Yesterday we had a wonderful time meeting with the men and the boys, and I started by talking about the wonderful wildlife that we see in Kenya. And one of the thrills that my wife and I enjoy as we will travel often. We'll travel to a village to preach on Sunday morning, and while driving down the highway, we see wild animals along the side of the road. Elephants, giraffe, zebra, all kinds of antelope waiting to cross the road or just grazing along the roadside, and that's really exciting. I'm a farm kid, and I just love wildlife. Now, one of the other interesting experiences we've had in villages is that we've also had wildlife come into the church during church services. One particular service, I was up preaching, and in the side door, a whole, is it flock or herd of goats? I think it's a flock. But we had a whole flock of goats come running in through the church and just cause all kinds. You know how kids are. They just cause commotion. And so we had a little break there. We do that. Another time, and this was actually in one of our city churches. It wasn't a nice church like this with carpeting on the floor and padded pews. Our city church had corrugated tin walls and a roof, and we sat on hard wooden benches. And I was preaching one particular morning, and we had a door in the back of the church. It was long and narrow, and a chicken came clucking right down the middle aisle. And so nobody else paid any attention to it. Apparently it was really normal for them, but it did distract me for a bit. I tried to keep going, but that little chicken just came clucking right down the aisle, came off to the side, and it jumped up. We had a one-step platform. It jumped up on the platform, and then against this wall on the platform, there was a bookshelf where they stored all the hymnals during the week, but it had a dust cover. It had a sheet hanging over it, and the chicken just went behind the sheet. So I started preaching again, and a couple of minutes later, we hear cackling, and the chicken laid an egg right in the middle of the church service. And a lesson I learned, young people, it's better for the chicken to lay the egg than for the preacher. Now, pastor understands what that means. To lay an egg means to be a failure, okay? To preach a message that no one pays any attention to. So I hope I don't do that this morning. Okay, so I want to tell you about our ministry in Kenya. First of all, I want to have my wife stand so you can see her. She is my better half. This is Carolyn. And as Pastor mentioned, we've been in Kenya for 20 years. 12 years before that, we served as in various pastoral ministries here in the United States before the Lord called us to Kenya. Our emphasis, our focus in Kenya is on church planting. And we are really focused on evangelism, discipleship, and training of national leaders. And so the way that I do that primarily is that I am the head of a Bible college. I also believe in team ministry, and we have a team of 7, right now it's 7 missionary families. We're rejoicing that second generation missionaries, our kids are starting to come back and work with us. So we have 7 missionary families, but we also have 5 national pastors that make up the faculty of our Bible college. Now, everyone on the team is involved in their own church planting ministry. So we all have our own personal ministry, but when we started the college, our family was brand new to Kenya, and I was actually working with another missionary, one of our team members, just kind of learning about Kenya, learning about the ministry there. And when we met to start the Bible college, they all said, well, each one, I'm trying to plant a church, and that's a full-time job in and of itself. So they said, well, Brent, you don't have a church plant yet. Why don't you be the head of the Bible college? And so that's how I became the head the Bible College, the executive administrator, as well as teaching in the Bible College. Now, I mentioned this yesterday to the men. I told them that my primary job, the primary subject that I teach in Kenya is English. And guys are making faces. The men, there was this audible groan from all the men yesterday. Ladies, can you imagine groaning at a man who's trying to teach English grammar and composition? But my primary purpose is to teach them English enough to diagram sentences. Do you guys still diagram sentences? Do you know how to diagram sentences? All the hands go down. Okay. Because I need to teach them the English and the diagramming in preparation for them after they get through my English class. Then they take Greek so that they know how to handle the Word of God in the New Testament in its original language to be really good expositors of the Word of God. So I teach a number of other courses as well, but that's the one that takes up a lot of the time. So I teach in the college, teach the English classes and other things. But on the weekends, because I am not involved in my own church planting ministry, it gives me the opportunity to help so many others. And so I travel week after week. Every week, my wife and I are in a different ministry, a different church. Either it's church planters, or it's also established churches encouraging the pastors and meeting the needs, helping to meet the needs that they have. But we really like to go and visit with church planters, and many of them have planted churches. We are in the city of Nairobi. Nairobi is 6 million people, about the size of Chicago, and our Bible college is located there. But we like to travel to the little villages where there aren't many mud huts left, though there are some, but they still live in quite primitive conditions. But we love to go out and visit with the pastors. We go evangelizing with the pastors. We're able to just fellowship with the pastors, give them any kind of counsel and encouragement that they need. Also ministering in the churches by preaching and teaching, and really getting to know the people and to encourage them. And then, as I mentioned, we also work with the existing churches and the established churches as well. I want to talk a little bit about the Bible College, and you'll see a video. We're going to show a video in the morning service that will give a lot of the statistics. The video is actually 2 years old. I apologize for that. It's not current for this furlough, but when that video came out, the video is comprised of testimonies from a number of the nationals that I work with, and I thought it's just a great opportunity for people to hear from the nationals themselves, so I didn't make a new one. But let me just update a little bit. There will be some statistics in the video, but to update, in the Bible College, we are rejoicing that we had a record enrollment this year. We currently have 52 students enrolled in the Bible College, and I think one of the reasons why we have seen an increase in our enrollment is that 3 years ago, we started music education. We started with choir and teaching music theory, and then we started teaching them how to play these little plastic recorders. You all familiar with those? How many ever played a plastic recorder, okay? I learned I didn't understand, never thought about it until we started our music program in Kenya. But I came to realize that music and music education is a luxury. How many kids took music lessons? Okay. No kid taking music lessons ever considered it a luxury, did you? It was a duty, yeah. But it really is a luxury. Music, live music, was only afforded to royalty throughout history. And they would employ people to learn music, to play the best kind of music, and that's really how classical music has been preserved for us today from centuries past. So in Kenya, which is a developing nation, very poor nation, people love to sing, but very few people have had any kind of music training. And so what we found out is that they can't afford those little plastic recorders. They cost about $3, and so we start them on learning to play those little recorders. What's really neat is that we started that 3 years ago. 2 of our students have gone back to their home churches, and they have started recorder choirs in their local church. And that's really what the goal is. But once they do 1 year of recorder, then we allow them the opportunity to start taking other instruments. And primarily we're teaching piano because that's the most versatile, most used instrument for our churches, but then we also have a brass instructor and a woodwind instructor, and so clarinet, trumpet, trombone are being learned as well. And it's exciting. And again, one of those students that is teaching the recorder choir in his church, he's also already accompanying his church on the piano for their congregational singing. And that's really our focus for the program. But so that's, I believe, what is causing our church to grow, or our college to grow in enrollment, is because of the music program. I think another reason why we are growing in our enrollment is because the East African region, we call it the East African community, it's 6 countries in East Africa, they have reduced the restrictions for travel between those countries. And so it's much easier for us to go back and forth within those countries. And so we have received some students from other countries now in our college. We have 2 students from Rwanda. We currently have 3 students from South Sudan. We have, I've been talking with some missionaries in Uganda, a missionary in Ethiopia that would also like to send students to our Bible college, but working out all of the logistics for that, we haven't been able to have those students come yet. But God is giving us a broader circle of influence, and then my wife and I also, for the last several years, we've been able to travel to Uganda during the college breaks and minister with some missionaries teaching in some Bible institutes there. We're really concerned and focused on church planting. And since we started the Bible college, and since we had our first graduation, which was in 2010, from our Bible college and through our team, we've been able to start 14 churches. And we're rejoicing in that. 2 churches were started just last year. And I think as the college is growing and we're getting more and more young men that feel God is leading them into either pastorate or church planting, I think we're going to see more churches started more rapidly than we've seen in the past. We have a couple of resources that as missionaries we've been working to develop, and actually 2 of our missionaries that are on our team, they're actually brothers, and one of them leads the music instruction in our Bible college. They have been working, and they have recently produced a hymn book for our churches in Kenya, and it's a hymn book that actually has the music. Most of the hymn books that are available in Kenya, because nobody reads music, they never, that music stuff takes up a lot of space. So they just have the words listed in the songbooks, but they produced a songbook that has the music and the words, and they also have the words for the song. They have on one side, it's English, on the other side, facing page, it's Swahili. And we sing, those are the 2 primary languages that we use in the country of Kenya. And it's been slow getting our churches to start using those songbooks, but because the students and more people are starting to learn music, they're starting to catch on, and I think that's going to be a great resource. One of the lessons I've also learned there that I believe about music, and especially church music, you need to have the right kind of music, and if you have the right kind of music, it is actually a tool to help bring revival. Wrong kind of music can hinder revival, but the right kind of music will enhance and draw people to embrace revival truth and Bible truth. And so we're excited about that. I was talking with Pastor yesterday, and he was sharing with me his passion and his ministry of daily devotions as he puts together the devotional and also the video. And I shared, I have a very similar passion And so about 10 years ago, I started just once a week. I'm not as committed as Pastor is. That is, I appreciate what he's doing, but I can't do that yet. But once a week, I send out a devotional to our pastors, students, former students, simply to encourage them. I know for me, I have found that connection through devotions has probably been the biggest influence that has created our brotherhood, our commonality, our fellowship within the nationals, the missionaries in our churches, to be sharing on that spiritual level. Along with that, 10 years ago, I started producing a devotional journal, a Bible reading schedule with a prayer list, journaling, and we produced it in a book form, and we would give that to our students every year because as leaders of the church, they need to learn how to meet with God, how to feed themselves from the Word of God, how to have an intimate, meaningful prayer time. But about 2 years ago, I started looking at developing that book into an app, and it'll be available on the phone, and we're getting really close. I have been using for about 3 months. I have the beta version on my phone, and we're hoping, the goal is by August 1st that we're going to be able to launch this. And one of the goals with launching it in August 1st is that our home church, which is Falls Baptist Church in Menominee Falls, my pastor would like to have it so he can introduce it for the beginning of the school year and encourage the young people to have this resource as well. So that's one of the things that we are working on. My wife and I are very much involved in helping the pastors of the established churches. And one of the things that we do in the college, every year, students take personal evangelism class, where not only do they learn a gospel outline and memorize verses, but we take them out into the community where they can practice sharing the gospel with people in our community. Interestingly, our college is located in a estate within the city of Nairobi, and in our estate, about 50% of our residents are Muslim. And so our students are learning to share the gospel with those that claim to be Christian because they attend a Christian denomination, but also learning to share the gospel with Muslim people. We've seen a couple of Muslims make a profession of faith. And our experience is that if they make a profession of faith, their Muslim family, the mosque, has no problem with that. But if a Muslim decides to get baptized, then they will face severe physical persecution. And there have been some that have been beaten, bones broken because of their profession and baptism in Jesus Christ. So that is a real problem for a Muslim who converts. I will tell you, we have not experienced any type of persecution as Christians. Now, I will tell you, from my perspective, if I approach a Muslim, he will turn and walk away from me personally because I'm a white man. And they would assume, being a white man in Kenya, that I am a Christian, I'm a missionary, and they won't have anything to do with me. But our students, as Kenyan nationals, they're able to talk freely with people because they can't tell who's the Christian and who's not. So many of our students have had the opportunity to share the gospel with Muslims. And there is a fear factor, but we have not experienced any kind of reprisals, any kind of persecution in sharing the gospel. And then my wife and I, every year we try to get into a local church and do evangelism training in a local church. Sometimes we've been able to do 2 evangelism training sessions. We will go in and we will spend 12 weeks in a local church. Specifically, every Sunday afternoon we will teach our evangelism instruction, and then after that we will go out practicing every Sunday afternoon after that. And it's been a great joy to basically take the church people and rally them into an army to go out and reach their community with the gospel, and we've seen some really good results and really a sense of revival toward evangelism through that ministry. And then as we continue to look to help the churches, sometimes some interesting things happen where I get called upon to help. Someone greeted me, and forgive me. I know that missionaries, they're placed on a pedestal because we have traveled to a foreign country, and there are some sacrifices that are involved with that, and I appreciate that. But really, my job as a missionary is simply to be a helper to people, helper to our churches, and I will consider that's my job as I am here at Hillsdale as well. I'm just a helper. Last August, I received a phone call that one of our national pastors within our fellowship, by the way, we started 14 churches. My wife and I work with 39 different churches in our fellowship, so it is a broad ministry. Got a call from one of the churches in August that their pastor had suffered a stroke on a Saturday night. And so I went down to visit him in the hospital, and he was totally paralyzed, the right side of his face, whole right side of his body, his arm and his leg. And he asked if I would be able to step in and do pulpit supply while he was recovering. And actually we stepped in and actually interim pastored for him while he was recovering. And were able to help stabilize the church, minister to the people, rally people to various ministries. The pastor, we were there for 7 months before we came home on furlough. But before we came home, pastor was able to actually get up and preach, though he's not fully recovered. His doctor says it will take 2 full years for him to fully recover and to do everything. Still, his right hand, he can move his arm, but he still can't grasp and write with his hand. And his leg is slower. His right leg is slower than his left leg, and he kind of drags his leg as he walks. But he's back in the pulpit. He's doing some of the ministry. We're able to rally some of the men of the church to step up and to take some of the teaching ministry to help pastor ease into it. And so those are the type of things that we do in our ministry to really just help start churches, reach the people of Kenya with the gospel. Can I take questions? Sure. Okay. Can I start? Yes, please.
How does a farm boy from the U.S. end up in the east side of Africa in a place called Kenya?
Okay. So you want the whole testimony? I'll give a brief version. So.
God can take a farm boy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, as I mentioned, I was in pastoral ministry, serving the Lord. I had been doing that for 12 years. And I was pastor in a small country church in Ohio. What part of that are you? What's Medina? Yeah, okay. I was south of Newark. But we had Missionary come in for a missions conference. And so spent several days with the missionary. And he was an older missionary. And he was talking to me, and he was real matter of fact. And he just asked me, so how much do you really pray for missionaries? And I got a little defensive, I'll just be honest with you. I said, I pray for missionaries. No. How much do you pray for missionaries? And he got in my face about it. At least I felt that way. But then he challenged me. Would you pray for God to send missionaries to Kenya? At that time, the missionary was 75 years old. He says, I don't know how many years I have left, but someone needs to come and take my place. That's what he said. So I said, okay, I'll pray for missions. I had surrendered to missions as a teenager and as a college student, but I never felt any sense that God would call me to be a missionary. I was a pastor. I thought, that's it. But I started praying every day for God to to call missionaries to take over the ministry of that couple. And 1 month. And actually, it started the very first day. There was a prick in my heart. And I kept kind of pushing it away for a whole month. And I finally, after a month, I surrendered to be a missionary, and that was to go to Tanzania. We applied with Baptist World, and we were planning to go to Tanzania and to work for a term with that missionary couple before they would have to leave the field and retire or because of bad health, and then we would take over the ministry. We were on deputation. About halfway through our deputation, the couple called and said, "Our health is failing. We're coming off the field. We can't go." And our mission board requires that we, as a new missionary, we needed to work one term, 4 years, with a veteran missionary. And they said, "You can't go to Tanzania unless you find someone else to work with." Well, our mission board supported a missionary in the country of Kenya, and one of the first things you have to do is learn the language, and it's the same language in Kenya and Tanzania. So we said, well, let's go to Kenya, and we will work with that missionary, learn a little bit, learn the language, and then we'll look to go to Tanzania. So we arrived in Kenya and got settled in. After 1 year in Kenya, I decided I need to go and just visit that ministry because the missionaries had already left and see what's going on and see how we need to prepare. And I took the veteran missionary with me, and we arrived in that village where the previous missionaries had been, and the whole ministry had collapsed. I mean, the ministry was there. They had a big church, but they had totally changed direction. They were not following the same doctrines, and they didn't want our help and instruction. They just wanted missionaries to give them money. And I recognized that God had closed the door to that ministry, to us going there. So we came back to Kenya, and it was amazing. Within a week, the veteran missionary said, "We need to start a Bible college here," and that's where that all took off there. Now, I will tell you, Pastor, one of the things I found out, a farm kid, that's what they need in Kenya. Most of Kenyans farm. We live in the city, and we wake up every morning to rooster crowing in the city. We have a neighbor across the street from us. Our street is red clay. It's a dirt road in the city. And they, every morning, from their little compound, they bring out their cow that is tied to a rope, and they will take and stake the cow out along the ditch somewhere to eat grass throughout the day. And so it is subsistence, survival farming that everybody does. And so when I tell a Kenyan that I grew up milking cows, it's an immediate connection. They don't expect that from Americans at all. They think all of us are independently wealthy and we don't need to even work. Okay, that's their... By the way, you think of them as living in mud huts, which is wrong. They think of us as everybody living in mansions and walking on streets of gold, which is wrong, okay? That's why we travel back and forth. It helps to adjust the reality. So that's how a farm kid got there. Other questions? Yes?
Are the chickens your best means of pest control?
Yeah, we don't have any chickens. For us, it's the lizards, the geckos.
They get the bugs?
Oh yeah. And we have geckos throughout our house. My daughters, all of my children, they were raised in their teen years in Kenya, and my daughters would make pets of the geckos and name them. Okay? So it didn't start out that way by any means, but they got accustomed to it. So I'm sure that the chickens out and about, they're eating the insects and things.
So you don't mind the gecko, but you would mind the bugs?
Yeah. Oh yeah. We don't like the spiders, centipedes, millipedes. They're nasty. And then the big thing, they call them white ants, but the termites. And the first rain in the rainy season, all of these eggs hatch, and it's just clouds of bugs flying, ants flying all over. As soon as they land, their wings fall off, and they start burrowing in again. My dogs they love to eat the white ants. That's their day of feast. And we have 2 rainy seasons a year, so 2 days a year that my dogs just get really fat, and they just chow down on those ants. So, and a lot of the Kenyans, in the villages in particular, they'll scoop them up with shovels and they'll fry them. Yeah. So, yeah. The motto of a missionary to Africa: where he leads me, I will follow. What he feeds me, I will swallow. Okay? And the Bible says, ask no questions for conscience sake. Okay? If it's put before you, you got to eat it. Okay? So no picky eaters. Okay? And don't say, well, I'm a picky eater, therefore God's not calling me. No, maybe God wants you to overcome that. Good. Some other questions? Yes, ma'am. Well, that's a real good question. Kenya, and I will tell you, I really struggled with this coming back to America, because they're saying in America that, I forget the percentage, but so many Americans are suffering from food insecurity. That's the term they use. They don't get enough to eat. That is not true in America compared to Africa. They're very impoverished. In the city of Nairobi, a report went out about 2 years ago that said that 50% of the families living in the city earn $200 a month or less in a major city. And by the way, most of our people that we minister are in that range. So just ask yourself, how would you live if all you had for your family was $200 for a month? Number one, you're not going to live in the house you live in. You're going to get something really economical, and we live in a nice house, I think. We have a 3-bedroom home with 2 baths. 2 plots down, there is a family of squatters that they live in a tin shack, dirt floor. Between us is a doctor who lives, and he has a 5-bedroom home, 3 or 4 baths in his home. And so the poverty and the rich are all together. But, yeah, the food insecurity is a real issue, especially if we have a drought. Now, for a Kenyan, most Kenyans, rich or poor, the primary food, we call it ugali. It is maize meal that has been cooked into a mush or a cake. And it's basically carbs to fill the belly. It doesn't have a whole lot of nutritional value. They don't eat a lot of meat. They will eat some kind of green vegetable. We call it sukuma. It's either spinach or kale or something that grows really quick. And they'll have a little bit of vegetable with their ugali. But they get enough to fill the belly. And probably they'll eat maybe 2 meals a day. So it's not, we are so blessed with abundance here that it's very, very different. Now, having said that, number one, I can't alleviate all of the poverty and suffering in Kenya. There's just too much. And they are surviving. Most of the time we're not seeing people who die of starvation. But they know how to survive at their economic level and with what they have for them. They're just much poorer. They don't have the things that we have. I'll tell you, by and large, they're happier than we are. We are dependent upon things to be happy, where they realize if I have health, I am happy. So, I hope that answers the question. Okay. Another question. Yes.
Modern technology. I know some third world countries, even the poor have cell phones.
Oh, yeah.
Is that true in Kenya?
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I'm working on developing the devotional app. because even in the villages, everybody has a smartphone. And I will tell you, someone asked me recently, a pastor, he said he received a contact from Kenya. Someone was asking, can you send us Bibles? And he was asking me about it. Forgive me for saying it, Kenyans, we don't need to send physical Bibles to Kenya and put that expense there. You can get the Bible on your phone. And I have both. I have several Bible apps on my phone, both in English and in Swahili. And I'll be honest with you, often when we send Bibles to a third world country, to a developing country, the people who receive them, because they are impoverished, they don't give them away, they sell them. Now, the Word of God is going forth, but it's not how we intend it to go forth. So we have to be really wise in how we handle it. But yes, technology, it's growing. My students in our college, we have what I think is a pretty nice library for a college like we have. Someone donated 20,000 volumes to us for our library. Our students don't use physical books. It's all online research. So it's, yeah. So we're finding that, and especially that generation, not my generation, but the younger generation, it's all about the technology.
So how do you have an average income of $200 a month and also afford a cell phone?
We're overcharged here in America.
We're subsidizing.
Well, in most of our products that we get, our electronics in Kenya comes from India and from India and China. Now, they're not our products. Our technology in Kenya is not at the level of what we have. Our phones. Now, I get my phone here in America, but you can get a smartphone in Kenya for $50, $60. Okay. My wife and I, we are extravagant by Kenyan standards. We get a monthly plan for both our phones that have unlimited calls, text messages, data, and then we also have Wi-Fi in our home. Total, we spend $35 a month. And yeah, that's a sticker shock. I'm paying for that here in the States, and it's over 100. For them, they don't get unlimited. They buy data at like 50 cents at a time, and they'll use that little bit there, and then in our college, as missionaries, we have Wi-Fi. So they tap into our Wi-Fi and get it free. They're plugging in to whatever outlets they can find. They're charging their phones for free when they come to school. And it is, for all of that, it's minimal expense for us, but for them, it's a big deal. Other questions? Yes?
How hard was it to cross the language barrier from English to Swahili?
As an old man, really hard. Okay, I'll be honest with you. I can converse limitedly in Swahili. I can't preach in Swahili. Now, the reason is because language is constantly changing. We say it's fluid. We have coworkers that arrived in Kenya 5 years before we did, living in our neighborhood. They learned to speak Swahili fluently because everybody in our neighborhood was speaking Swahili. When we arrived 5 years later, we were learning language. We'd go out into our community to try and practice. Nobody was speaking Swahili. They wanted to speak English. So we were not able, and what you need to learn to speak fluently, you need to be immersed in the language. And my wife and I have never been able to be fully immersed. So most of our ministry in our college is all English. Our churches in the city, I preach in English. They're all English-speaking churches. When we go to the villages, Swahili is a trade language to help communicate between the different tribes, and there's 48 tribes. So when we go to the village church speaks their tribal language. So I preach in English, and it's translated into whatever the tribal language is where we're at. So that's how I survive in Kenya. Good. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am. Running water? Yeah, we do. Yeah, we have electricity. We have running water. Now, I will tell you, with our electricity, there are weekly blackouts and brownouts. Okay, our infrastructure is old. More and more users coming onto it, so they actually schedule blackouts 1 day a week. They shut off our electricity, so they have enough to share with the whole community. Our water, we receive water 1 day a week through the municipal water system. So we have, and every house, they have water tanks, so that when the water's on, they fill the tanks and they use that for the week. When we had kids, we actually put in a big tank in our front yard so that we'd have enough water for all the kids and everything. So we have never run out of water since we did that. Always have water, but electricity, we learn to adapt to doing things that don't require technology when the power goes out. So yeah, and a lot of times, if it goes out in the evening, okay, it's time for bed. By the way, in Kenya, we live 4 minutes south of the equator. I'm using minutes in a nautical geographical sense. We're 90 miles south. So the sun rises and sets at the same time every day of the year. It rises at 6:30 every morning, and it sets at 6:30 every evening. We get 12 hours of daylight, 12 hours of darkness. So if the power goes out, we go to bed because it's dark. So now what we do, hopefully the electricity will be on when we wake up, but we save whatever. We have some battery lanterns and things. We save that for the morning when we wake up because we want to have our devotions and do those type of things.
And no air conditioning.
No air conditioning, no. In Kenya, Nairobi is called the mile-high city of Africa. So we live up in the mountains, and so that moderates our temperature. Our highs throughout the year are in the low 80s to the low 90s. Rainy season will only get up into 80s. Hot season will get up into the 90s. The cold, normally it gets down to about 70. In the hot season, during the cold season, we'll get down into the 50s. We don't have furnaces either, so we just put on more sweaters and things for the cold. But when we travel to the villages, that's where it gets out because we're going down in altitude. Good. Other questions?
What about danger?
Okay.
Some countries you have your own guards and dogs.
We talk about security, but every place has their own definition of what security means to them. And so in Kenya, we feel secure, but we take a lot of precautions that we don't do here. We have an 8-foot wall around our compound with 5 strands of wire on top. We have a solid steel panel gate. There are 3 padlocks on that. We have the main gate, and then we have a little walk-in gate that has a padlock on that to get in. We have bars on all of our windows. We have locks and padlocks on our house doors. If there's a fire, we're trapped, but it's a stone house. And then we have 2 German Shepherd guard dogs. So that's how we stay secure. And the State Department says, I do have air conditioning in my car. So the State Department says, for safety's sake, Americans should have a car that has air conditioning and power locks, because carjackings are very frequent in Kenya. Now, we've never been carjacked, but we've had team members that people have attempted to. Good. Anything else? Yes, sir.
What are some things about about the culture there that surprised you when you first went to Kenya?
Well, first of all, things are much slower than they are here in America. And I like to stay busy. So the Kenyan people, especially my students, I had one student came and said, "Pastor, you keep pushing us. We don't like to be pushed." And those were his words. I said, "Well, thank you for letting me know I'm going to push you." So they're much more casual. They're much more slower, more laid back than what we are here. They're cosmopolitan. That means that they blend with all of the different cultures. Each tribe, though they're in Kenya, each tribe is distinct, but they do have some commonalities. And so each one is a little bit different. And even, they all make the same type of food. They all make this ugali. They can all make it a little different. They have another one called githeri. They make it a little bit different between the tribes. You know, like your mother did, someone else's mother makes the same thing, but it's different, that type of thing. They're also very, well, can I use the word tribal? Because that's what they have. And a tribe simply means extended family. When we go to a village, everybody's related. I mean, that's the difficulty, and the pastors, we train the pastors, they all want to go back to their home area to be the pastor, but it's because they know everybody. Now, it's hard to share the gospel with family. Have you noticed that? And so it is in Kenya. A lot of them just, you know, pastors, they've been talking to their family for years, but family members say, "I don't want to get saved. I don't want to have anything to do with it." So, but then there's also, with that tribal family, the big thing is called dowry. Okay? Couple wants to get married. They say it this way. I would say it differently, but I'll say how they say it. The groom has to pay and buy the bride for a bride price in order to get permission to marry. And then whatever he pays, it doesn't just go to the father, it goes to all the uncles as well. Now, it's been corrupted. The uncles really extort it, and they want more and more. And they tell me now that you have to give a certain amount, a down payment on the bride price in order to get married. It is substantial, but basically you'll be paying for the rest of your life for that woman. Yeah. It's a great deal for the father of the girl, okay? But it's hard on the young man. So those are a couple of things culturally that, and I will tell you, every day I'm learning something new, and I don't fully understand it. But that's fun. I love to, you know, if I knew everything, what fun would that be? Do you feel that way? Okay, good.
Our missionary in Togo
Uh-huh.
had to come up with a substantial amount when he got married.
Yeah.
Who made up that rule?
I think you find something like that in the book of Genesis.
Many dollars.
Yeah. And now in Kenya, you know, especially if the parents have sent their daughter to school and they've paid for her education, that means they need to recoup all of that money. So that's part of the dowry is now. But still, dowry is paid with cattle, goats and cows. So. Or camels, but we don't have much of that right where we're at. But. Good. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
What is the worst thing you've eaten there? The worst thing.
Can you keep a secret? My wife's cooking. Wasn't the answer you were expecting, is it? And I'm just joking. Now you got my wife mad at me. No, she's a good cook.
Our wives can sit together.
Yeah.
At a different table.
For me, personally, I've eaten, and again, like I say, what they feed you, I will swallow. What they feed me, I will swallow. So I've had goat brain soup. Okay? And by the way, that's the dessert at a feast. So, and they bring, I mean, and as the white guy, I'm the honored guest, so they bring it to me and serve it to me in front of everybody else, so I have to take it, right? You understanding? Okay. Worse than that, though, for me, they were goat intestines. And I'll tell you, they weren't cleaned very well. They had a little grassy taste and texture to them, and they're real chewy. So, yeah. What?
How do you survive this long?
Hey, no. God has given us, this is 2 Timothy, God has given us all things to enjoy with thanksgiving. You could survive on that. You'd like it.
I wouldn't survive.
No. Don't limit God in your life. No.
Strong guy.
So you're putting me up on this pedestal? Huh? Food is nothing, man. One more question. Anybody have a good one? Yes, sir. Oh, what's that? No McDonald's. They all claim that they can run, okay? But it's a major commitment to become world class. I have not met the man, but about 2 streets over from us, when we first arrived, there was a world-class marathon runner that lived in our neighborhood, and at the time he had the nicest house in the neighborhood. He was a professional marathon runner, and he ran for, I don't know which company, but he ran for a company based in Japan. Might have been Toyota or something. They sponsored him. But yeah, on the main road in our community, there are times that you'll see a whole pack of runners, and they'll run a marathon every day as part of their training. But most of them, they're in the northwest corner of Kenya, is where the world-class runners train. And again, it's another mountainous area where they train. And I think that's one of the reasons why they are world-class, is that they train at altitude where there's a lack of oxygen. And then our neighbor to the north is Ethiopia, and Ethiopia is even a little bit higher. And so a lot of times you're going to see Kenya, Ethiopia. They are the world class in marathon running. But yeah, when someone wins a major world marathon or a competition around the world, the government gives them $1 million for that gold medal. So yeah, they are the heroes of Kenya. Okay, glad I was able to share some insights, some facts about Kenya. If you have anything else, please come by our table and talk with us. Be glad to answer any other questions. Pastor?